In a previous video I showed how I had trouble with the connector on my 2-watt booster attaching to the jumper, how the solder came loose on it. So I resoldered it and I thought everything was fixed, but it turns out it wasn't, it came loose again. So this time I went for a more radical alternative. I took the connector for the aerial right off, separated it from the booster and used a piece of flexible wire to attach it. So now it's attached to the jumper with a piece of flexible wire, and what it means is that I can just fold the antenna down and have the whole thing screwed together and in the case. So that's actually an advantage. So it's neater for storage, less chance of any damage to the attachment on the booster, and yeah, and I don't have to undo anything. So just demonstrating here, here's the booster, and I use a decased Bugs 3 battery as a power supply for it, and I only plug it in once I'm in the field and ready to go. So it's just demonstrating flexible connection, and of course lots of liquid solder on there to insulate the connection. Sometime after making this video and the first test with the EX2 Mini, I suddenly realised I should be using coax since this is an aerial. It's not just simply electrical shielding, so I just substituted it. But what's in the rest of this video, I'll jump back to the past a moment, is perfectly applicable, so I still put the video up. One advantage of using a slightly different connector is it's a bit flatter on the top, so it fits in the case even better. So I then retested with the EX2 Mini and I got out slightly further, but the ultimate test was to take it out with the Bugs 3, and I had a really good range with that, so very pleased. So I will jump back to the, the video with the original connector in a moment, because it wasn't too bad. The testing went well. It's just I suddenly realised that technically what I'd done wasn't right. So what I'll do, I'll just show you a tiny fragment of the test with the Bugs 3 for the distance, and then I'll jump back to the video. So here's the little unit, the Happy Model 2-watt booster. So when I took it apart and found it once again, despite a fair amount of soldering, to come loose, I was quite disappointed. And then I suddenly thought I'd seen other people do things similar to this. So I thought, right, if I get it right off and just use the single earth in the middle, the single positive terminal in the middle, and only one of the earths, and have a couple of wires, good copper wires coming out of it, it should be an improvement. So I've bent the case slightly, the aluminium case, so that wire doesn't get crunched when it comes out, and then rig the whole thing up on top of the jumper. So pretty happy with that, how that's come out. Yeah, what I've found with some of these old Bugs 3 batteries, they don't tend to be as reliable anymore, but they're fine for this kind of application where you're not suddenly drawing power or relying on the thing over much. And I put a, at the time I was really keen on those Dean's connectors or T-pieces, so that's how I plug it in. So here's the whole thing, ready for stowing in the case, battery disconnected, aerial fold down. So solving one problem, simplified the whole thing of storage. So no need to disconnect anything. It all fits neatly in the case, which is very good. Because one of my pet peeves with goggles is goggles typically don't fit in the case they come with unless you take the antennas off. So to do the test flight, I'm using a bog standard EX2 Mini with my old favourite Eachine TX03 all-in-one unit. They came with a cloverleaf which seemed to get damaged, so this one I'd taken off the cloverleaf and put a whip antenna on it instead. So all I had to do with the canopy was drill a hole in it and poke it out, and it got a flexible thing. So taking it out of the field, this is some high quality video from another session, but this is the field I'm going to test in, and lining it up ready for a go. So the conditions were very different. This was a brief period of stillness in what was a fairly stormy, windy day towards evening. So it was 7 or 8 o'clock at night and it was still about 30 degrees C, quite muggy and quite dark. So the TX03 does a great job as a combination unit, and it's the first thing I did when I got into FPV because it was cheap and easy enough to put together. The only thing you have to watch for is that if you're flying with poor light, suddenly you find you can't see very much through the goggles. In fact, I realise it's quite strange. The recording is actually better than what I see on the goggles. But I know how they work, and I've had enough experience so so when I swing around, so suddenly there's low light. At the moment the sun's behind me, so great, plenty of light, it's well lit up. But as I swing around here, it's actually very dark in the goggles, so I've got to be very careful I'm not too close to the tree as I come around. But yeah, I was very happy with the fix of the antenna. I seem to be getting good range. It was probably about 150, 160 meters for this thing, even though they claim 200 to 300 meters native. I never got that, but everything worked really well. And it was quite fun flying the little X2 Mini in a minimal configuration, not carrying a big camera or anything. So it was good to get out. So they're very manoeuvrable. The more I fly these, the happier I am to get in and out amongst the trees. This is one of 2 packs that I flew with the original battery, by the way, and the original battery is good for at least 10 minutes with these. But this flight I cut fairly short just for the testing. So yeah, all good fun, and hopefully I won't be having to do any more mods to the antenna on my jumper, but time will tell. Just see how it pans out. Just a few runs up and down the field. No magpies giving me a hard time this evening, so that was good. But it was a week where I didn't expect to get out to do any flying at all, so this was quite fun, really. So coming in for a landing now. Looking for the pad, and here it comes. Okay, so that's about it. Happy flying, see you next time.